Hi, this is Helen Martes from Hypnotherapy Business Excellence, and I'm so fortunate to be in LA today and to have met the wonderful Ken Guzzo, who owns two businesses, and I'll let him tell you what they are.
Sure. In 2006 I opened the Bay Area Non-Smoking Center in the San Francisco Bay Area, and then about 4 years ago I opened the North American Academy of Hypnosis. Well, I had kind of a dual career going prior. I had a very nice job in the technology sector in sales and sales management, sales training, but I was also facilitating workshops and one-on-one work. I've been doing change work with people since 1989. And a colleague of mine came across this hypnotic process that was supposed to be incredibly effective for smoking cessation.
Okay.
And the claims seemed outrageous, and we researched it. We found out it was pretty much true. So there were 9 of us that went for them to LA and got certified in this hypnotic process. And at the time I wasn't particularly interested in doing hypnosis, and I wasn't particularly interested in working with smokers. I wasn't a smoker, I didn't hang out with smokers, but I was very interested to see if I could identify what caused this process to be so effective, to see if I could extract it and apply it to other things, because that's what I like to do.
Okay. Yeah.
But once I got helping people stop smoking, I really fell in love with it. So I took this 1-hour hypnotic process and really over many years evolved it and fine-tuned it and enhanced it into the 2-hour process that it is now. So it had some roots somewhere else, but it's a very different process now.
So it's 2 hours in the one session?
2 hours. The first hour is educational.
Yeah.
So in that time I'm going to pretty much turn upside down everything that smoker thought they knew about smoking.
Okay.
And loosen up that person thinks they're an expert of smoking. They've been doing it for 40 or 50 years.
Yeah.
And at the end of that hour, they don't know what smoking is or how they, what part they play in that, because just everything's upside down. And I start working on creating that overload and hitting them with a lot of facts that actually make sense to them. So my clients will be saying at the end of that hour, you know what, this actually makes more sense than what I've been taught in the past about nicotine, addiction, and tobacco.
Okay.
And then we do the neurological process, as we were saying, and then we do the hypnosis.
Okay. And does that ability to do that transfer to other areas like alcohol dependence?
When I'm working with someone with alcohol dependence, I personally use a very different process.
Yeah.
It's a 4-session process over a 3-month period. And it's actually the same process I use with professional athletes that want to take their performance to the next level.
Yeah.
And it causes change on a cellular level in the body. So when we're dealing with a major addiction, I actually do a more of a waking state process that I found very effective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, it sounds like something else that you could train others to do. Back down in Australia.
Perhaps.
I was trying to convince you to come down. So that's very, what's fascinating about that to me is that, you didn't want to use this new knowledge that you found out, to help smokers. You're just fascinated about the process and how you could apply the process in your other work. So did you apply the process in your other work before you got into hypnosis?
No, you know what I did? The timing just seemed to be perfect, because my wife and I were just about to have our first child.
Okay.
So she was actually pregnant with her first child, and I was working long hours and commuting into the city, and it's like, you know what? I think I'm ready to go back into business for myself, and do the hypnosis. And what that really was the freedom of being a hypnotist is what motivated me, because I got to take 3 months off.
Okay.
And be there when the baby was born. Then I got to go into business for myself, make my own schedule, but I brought my business background into my hypnosis. And I see a lot of hypnotists out there that are very good at what they do,
Yeah.
but they're not making any money. So when I decided to teach this, I wanted to teach not just the hypnosis and the neurological protocols, but the practice management and the marketing to what people need to do to build a 100% referral practice that's paying for itself.
So how did you learn that yourself?
I made a lot of mistakes.
Okay, yes.
So, but I do have a sales and a business background, so I brought that into my career as a hypnotist. But I've made a lot of mistakes too. So I teach people all of it when they take my course, because we really need to be in business for ourselves. We need to treat it like a business. That's one thing I like about specializing. I teach my students, specialize, pick one thing. Doesn't matter what that one thing is, but be the very best at that one thing.
That's exactly.
Build a reputation, and then people will beat a path to your door. Once people start, I've been 100% referral for 6 years now, and when people call me, it's like, you help my friend quit smoking. Can you help with weight loss? Can you help with nail biting? I can say absolutely. Yeah. But I made my reputation on that one thing. Yeah. So that works out very well.
So you said earlier that you made a lot of mistakes. Can you just share one of those with us? Just one?
I'll tell you a couple. One on the marketing side and one on my practice side.
Okay, cool.
On the marketing side, I spent money on golf course manuals and programs. I spent thousands on these silly little ideas that I thought might bring people in, and it didn't.
Okay.
So some on the marketing side, but probably the biggest learning experience I had on my practice side is I'd have all these clients coming through. I was working literally 40 hours a week, full-time, seeing smokers. That's all I did, was smokers for 5 years. And I realized I was actually starting to burn myself out. And how it showed up was, I knew I had someone waiting outside, and this person's wanting to have a conversation with me, and I was having to rush that person. I think I was losing some rapport because I was just pushing people through, and my success rate started to drop. And I actually got a couple of bad reviews that year on social media, and at first I was outraged. How could they possibly write me? And then I sat back and I said, you know what, I deserve that. And because I've lost that heart of the intention of why I was there to help people, and I just got so busy doing it. So what I did was I changed my entire approach. Now I see clients 2 days a week. Okay. And which gives me 5 days, which would to spend with my family, write a book, teach courses, develop other processes. So it keeps me fresh. And with the smoking cessation, I charge $5.95 per client. So because the smoking pays for itself out of the cigarette money, my clients, it's about 2 to 3 months worth of cigarettes is what I charge for the session. So my clients all save about $2,000 every year for the rest of their life. That's here in the U.S. at $5 a pack, and I know in Australia they're even more.
A lot.
Yeah. So that way I can charge what's fair to the client. My clients just show up. They pay online. They come in, and I just show up. So because it's 100% referral, and they just keep coming in, I'm able to earn a full-time income now, just working those 2 days a week, and it keeps me fresh to do other things.
What would be the one thing that you could tell the community out there about something you wish that you knew earlier, that you now know, that when you first started, you didn't know?
Well, something that's different than the lessons I had already explained. This was interesting in me teaching students, other hypnotists, and at first they weren't getting the same success rate as I was getting, and they would make excuses to me, what I deemed as excuses. They weren't excuses, but they'd say, "Oh, Ken, well, you can do it because fill in the blank. You're this or you're that." And I always said, no. I just have a head start on you by a few years or a few months. If you just keep practicing, you'll get the same results as me. But I discovered that there was something that I didn't teach, that was just something that I was doing naturally, except for that time when I got overloaded. And I realized it was crucial, so that I now teach it in all my trainings. And that's when you're connecting with that client, when it's so important to have that rapport and to have that positive expectation, and to setting that up right off the bat with your client. And I just found by getting in touch with that unconditional love within myself, that there's this client whose life is going to change today. And if I just think about someone that I love unconditionally, like my young son, who's 4 years old. But that's kind of that grandfather or grandmother type of energy. It's not not a relationship, not with a partner, because that's a different type of energy, right? We don't want to be shining that onto a client. But that unconditional, non-sexual, non-relationship love, and just feel that in my heart first before the client even walks in the door, and then open my eyes and shine that into the client. Starting from there makes all the difference in the world, because when I'm having that connection with someone, and they can feel it, even if it's not conscious. And you know what happens is the trance begins, because the critical faculty melts away when you've got that loving, unconditional grandfather type energy. And I found by starting there, all the difficulty in the sessions just completely melted away. We're in instant rapport, and it caused the success rate to work up. When I started teaching that in my classes, their success rate went up as well.
That's fascinating, isn't it? Because there are some clients that you naturally like. You just naturally like them for whatever reason, but there are other clients that you don't naturally like for whatever reason. It's just a natural instinct as such. We don't, as human beings, love or like everybody around us, but there are others that we're naturally attracted to as people. But what you're saying is that you put yourself in a state whereby you think of somebody that you anchor yourself to an emotion of love, and therefore you keep that emotion when that client comes in. But when a client comes in who you wouldn't normally connect to, who is quite difficult to love, how do you do that? How do you do that, Ken?
Well, I think it's one of our most important roles as a hypnotist is to reflect back the highest intention of that person coming in. So I'm not there to judge the clients. Typically, I don't hang with smokers. I don't particularly like the action of smoking. But I was really amazed. About 2 years into my career, I just started to go out and get video testimonials, and I'd meet people at their work or at their home, and it's just tell me your story. What's it like to be a non-smoker for the last 2 years? And I kept hearing the same thing, and it really surprised me how many people said it. They said, and it was so important to me, I never felt judged by Ken. It didn't occur to me to judge them, but I was blown away how important that was, because they were judging themselves so harshly. I didn't feel like a bad person because I was a smoker. Over and over again, they kept saying this, and it's like, this is really key. So it's really important for we, the professional, we, the hypnotist. I'm not assessing who this person is based on the problems they're bringing in. I'm reflecting back to them the highest version of who they are. And that's the part I can love unconditionally. It doesn't matter what they look like or what their attitudes are. That's what I'm shining out. And I think even more important for a brand new hypnotist starting out, sometimes it's so difficult not to do this, but okay, is this process work? Am I skilled enough? And we start to look for the client's success rate to prove to ourselves that what we're doing is working. And that's completely upside down and backwards. It's up to us as the hypnotist to own the entire process from start to finish. And that client needs to borrow from our confidence. So I'm reflecting back the highest version of who they are. I know the changing is happening here, and the client's going to get the result. And I have them borrow from my confidence, and when I'm projecting that out to the client, it can't help but work.
If there was one more thing that you could tell the community out there, what would it be?
I would say treat your practice like a business. Specialize in one area. Be the best in your community at one thing, and build a reputation. Have the confidence in yourself. It's a really confidence that hypnosis works, because it does. Have confidence in yourself as a hypnotist, and have confidence in the process you're developing. Let your clients borrow from your confidence. And it might seem a little bit strange to hit them and say, you are absolutely are a non-smoker, or you are absolutely will release those extra 5 pounds. But making those declarations, it helps your client to move toward those goals for themselves.
Thank you. It's been an absolute honour.
My pleasure.
I am so lucky to have met you today. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
Thank you so much.